Hello everyone. Today we will tell you about the movie Horizon Line 2020. It all starts with Sarah flying to Mauritius for her best friend's wedding. Meeting up with friends, they decide to stop by a bar owned by Pascal. The bride says that the party will be on a neighboring island. A ferry will take them there tomorrow morning. And then Sarah notices her old friend, and only in the evening she decides to talk to him. But she gets an indifferent answer. Sarah doesn't give up and suggests a walk. A new day comes. The couple misses the morning ferry. Finding herself in a desperate situation, Sarah arrives at the house of Freddie, who is going to fly to the holiday on his own plane, because of which he agrees to take Sarah with Jackson. During the flight, Freddie offers Sarah to take the co-pilot seat, while Jackson just sleeps. A couple years before, Sarah had taken flying lessons from Freddie, from which he offers to pilot the plane, while reminding her of the basic rules. Sarah disengages the autopilot, and Jackson notices a poorly secured tank. Suddenly, Freddie begins to feel ill. Sarah realizes he's having a heart attack, and no pills are helping. Freddie loses consciousness and falls on the steering wheel. The balloon flies all over the cabin, smashing through the glass. But at the very last moment, Sarah manages to level the plane. Jackson tries to bring Freddie to his senses, but it was too late. Once in the pilot's seat, Sarah notices that the GPS tracker is no longer working and the cell phone is out of range. Therefore, they have no idea where they need to fly to. Jackson tries to contact the outside world via radio, but no one answers. Their only hope is the autopilot that was supposed to get them to the island, and even it isn't working. The situation is made worse by the small amount of fuel. Calculating a rough route with the help of a compass, Sarah turns around 180 degrees, where a storm awaits them. The plane begins to shake, but Jackson believes they will make it through the storm in time. Even communications appear. The plane is contacted by the local air traffic controller, who orders them to change direction, or they will use up all their fuel. Earth is to the west, directly behind the storm. Jackson is not happy about this news and wonders if they can land the plane on the water. The dispatcher manages to warn, "No way," before the connection is lost. They have no choice but to fly through the storm. Jack suggests that Sarah move into the chief pilot's seat so she can see all the gauges. Lightning strikes cause the plane to start shaking and the gauges to malfunction. Afraid of crashing, Sarah gains altitude. Jackson asks her not to do that, but she doesn't listen to him. They eventually fly out of the storm, but the joy is interrupted by altitude sickness. Sarah immediately passes out, but they miraculously manage to level the plane. Unfortunately, the compass is out of order, so they can no longer plot a course. Jackson remembers a way to make a compass from scratch. Taking a magnetic needle, he dips it into a liquid, which allows them to determine the sides of the world. A little later, the storm is behind them, but there's hardly any fuel left. Sarah switches to the spare tank, but the fuel starts to drain even more. Jackson assumes the tank was damaged in the storm. His only chance to be sure of this is to climb out by securing himself with a rope. He carefully climbs up to the engine compartment, where there is a breach that can be sealed with duct tape. On the way back, he accidentally slips, but miraculously manages to grab onto the airplane's wing. Sarah secures the rudder in one position and then rushes to help. Seeing that Jackson's safety harness is tangled in the wheel, she cuts the rope, and with a lot of effort, Jackson manages to crawl back into the plane. All that's left is to administer first aid to the fracture. The gauge is reading 5% fuel. Sarah suggests throwing away everything unnecessary to save fuel, and that's what a passing boat notices, dumping everything unnecessary, and even poor Freddie didn't have much effect. Then it hits Jackson. What if rum is used as fuel? But since he's badly injured, Sarah has to go outside. She gathers her courage, climbs out onto the roof, opens the fuel tank and pours in all the booze. The risk pays off. The fuel level rises slightly. Jackson also says that he spotted a small island where they can land. Sarah decides to believe Jackson and relays their plan to the dispatcher, hoping he will hear them. But after a few minutes of flying, the island has not been found and the fuel has completely run out. Realizing the gravity of the situation, each of them apologizes for anything that may have offended the other. Suddenly, Jackson spots a tiny patch of land. Sarah tries to land, but at low altitude loses control of the plane. Despite their best efforts, they fall into the water and flip over. The The water immediately begins to fill the fuselage. Sarah opens the door and swims to the surface, where she realizes Jackson never came up. She has to go back and rescue the guy. The exhausted couple falls to the sand, happy to have survived. A couple of hours pass. The island has slowly drifted away. Sarah becomes hysterical and desperately tries to find any ship, but there is only water around. After a while, the land is completely gone. Jackson offers to leave him behind, but Sarah refuses. At the same minute, Jackson's wound opens, attracting sharks. But their screams are noticed by the fishing boat, and the duo are rescued. That's the end of the movie. Well, the Secret Recap channel was with you. We hope that you liked this issue. Write about it in the comments. See you very soon. Bye.